What is success to you?
It's a good question. I think success is different to everyone, and I think it depends where you are in life, in age. Success used to be, to me, it used to be financial. I used to get off on the numbers, how much I was turning over. That made me feel good. That made me feel great. Um, Things have changed now as you get older in life. When you set that foundation where you don't have to strive for every dollar or pound to come in. Success for me now is more having the time to spend with family, my children. We recently got a horse, which is, I'd never been into horses, but my daughter wanted a horse, and just to see the joy that she gets from that and the family, it's really rewarding. I remember I used to work, I felt like 25 hours a day, 8 days a week. I used to make a lot of money. So some people might say you're successful, but I wouldn't swap that now for having the time and the work-life balance that comes with that. So success for me is balance, time, and having that comfortable foundation to build from.
Um, when did you realize that the other parts wasn't success to you, and how?
Well, it's another really good question. I remember once one of my business partners, he said to me, Sean, this was in a different business. He says, you're doing really well. You're working really hard. You're making lots of money. And what's it all for? And I said, well, it's great. I'm able to give some money to my children, help them have a better start in life, set them up for the future, put a nice pension away, all of this sort of thing. And he sat there and he listened to me, and he was quiet. And he says, what happens when it comes to the age where you say to your kids, there's X amount of thousands of pounds, you know, that I've managed to put away and save for you. And he says, that's great. But what happens when they actually look at you and say, Dad, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. But all we wanted was your time. And it really hit hard because, a lot of my job and profession, being from the military and working as a bodyguard previously, all my time was away from home. So it was a lot of time up from home, come back. And when he said that, it really hit home. Um, so I thought I need to look at this and kind of create some more time. And what happened was my business got even more successful. So it took more of my time and more of my time. And I kind of got sucked in, and it was hard to let go because the rewards that were coming, I thought, I'm not going to be able to make this money again. It's a career as a bodyguard is what I was at the time, on a shelf life like a football player. You're not going to be a 55-year-old striker playing for Manchester United. You've got a shelf life, and I had to make that money whilst I was there. So I got sucked into it, and I made the money to put money away for the kids. But the thing that changed for me, and what I see with a lot of people who get hooked on the money and the rewards, and I was, it's something that happens that totally changes. And it could be something like a global event like COVID, it could be losing a family member, it could be anything. And for me, my business serviced high net worth Russian individuals. I think we spoke about this last time I was on. When Russia invaded Ukraine, it really hit my business as one client coming to sanction, then the next one, then the next one. So it was forced upon me. And I do think back to myself now, would I have stepped away to kind of enjoy some of the fruits of my labour? I'd like to think yes, I would, but I don't know, because you kind of get sucked into that. I don't know, that the thirst for more. And I guess that's where I help people now, because I've seen both sides of the fence, where you're getting them big rewards. And then I've seen the side where, you have that bit more time. Maybe you don't make what the business used to make, but I wouldn't trade it in for the world.
It's awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. Sean, what would you say that are qualities that you see of a great leader? that one that you might inspire to be, or that you might want your kids to be?
But I've worked under some great leaders. I've worked under some bad leaders. Um, I like to think a great leader is someone who has a vision, someone who can empower and motivate the team around that vision and common goal, um, and making people feel good at the same time. You know, so I'm a former paratrooper, and you see different kinds of leaders. You know, the carrot and the stick, the people that give you that kick up the backside to get there. You know, the people who motivate you in a different way. And I've always seen myself as the kind of leader who will lead by example. You know, I would never ask people to do the things that I haven't done. You know, I remember in the military, you'd have the instructors that would stand at the bottom of the hill and would send send you to the top of the hill with the big pack and your rifle above your head, while they'd sit at the bottom and drink a cup of tea, and they're watching you go up and down and up and down. And whilst that's character building at the time when you're joining the military, I don't think it garnered respect. So when I was in the military, you know, if you've got recruits going up and down the hill, you're doing it as well because you're setting that example of what they should be looking at you. You know, if someone can do it, so can I. If the instructor's doing it, and I think that's what every good leader should do. You know, putting the right people in the right places, not hogging the spotlight and all of the credibility and the credit for the different wins the team may have. It's shining the spotlight on those that, you know, deserve it shined on them.
Are there any stories related to this incident that you like to share, where maybe someone did that for you and that made an impact on your life?
I actually remember I worked for a security company back at the time. So I was a bodyguard, self-employed bodyguard, and I used to work with a lot of high net worth individuals, really famous individuals, well-known personalities. And I used to work for this company, and every time their big major clients come in, they say, "Right, Shaun, can you be available to go and work with such and such a person?" And I go, "Yeah, absolutely." But being self-employed back at the time, I only got paid for the days that I worked, and I would invoice for the services I provided for them days. And at the time, I think it just started young family, and what I wanted at the time, what I craved was stability and, you know, regular income. When you're first starting out in an industry, it's hard, and so I used to get put on all of these great tasks. And when permanent type role of, you know, permanent contract came up, I'd say I'd really like to be considered for this opportunity, this vacancy. And I, I remember the guy bringing people in that had never worked for the organisation and putting them on the full time jobs. So he says, "Shaun, I can't put you on these jobs because when somebody comes in, you know, the wife of such and such a person comes in, they all say, 'Can I have Shaun?' Because they'd worked with me before. Because my big skill was my first impression. You know, turning up on time, look the part, with the right gear. And I thought to myself, that's great, but that's impacting me moving forward. You know, I want stability. Yes, it's great doing this work for you, but it stopped. You became a bit of a, I don't know, a victim of your own success almost. And I remember he looked at me and he said, "Okay, we've got nothing in this week. I'm going to send you on this driving course, advanced driving, blah, blah, blah. Go do it. I'm going to pay you to do it." And I thought to myself, so you're going to send me on this course, you're paying for the course, you're paying for the training, and I'm not even an employee of you, you know, I'm just a outside contractor coming in. And he says, "Yeah." And then the next time it was an advanced medical course. So there were courses around the services that I was delivering at the time. And I just thought to myself, you know, that was great leadership because he's seen someone who had real value, as in the value I was bringing to his team, his business, and he invested in me. And by him doing that, it made me want to run through walls on all of the other tasks that I delivered for that company. And it's one of the things that I brought when I formed my company. So it was the same thing. All of the guys and girls that I employed, I ensured they were paid well. I had good time off. I invested in their training, in their well-being, and that's why my company grew so rapidly. There's a bit of luck there as well, but I think I always say you create your own luck. By putting yourself in more places, you're giving yourself more opportunities for that luck or that opportunity to happen. And it's just one. It was just a great lesson of leadership. I learned, investing in your people, treating them with respect, showing them that you're valued, and they'll run through brick walls for you.
Oh, I couldn't have said it better. Thank you for sharing that, Sean.
No problem.
What would you say? This is the last question for today. What would you say that it is one of the stories that leads to your why, that has helped you solidify your why or connects to your why?
I think in life, going back to when I went to join the military, and I think it was on the video that we watched before we recorded this. I wanted to become a paratrooper, and I remember coming home and speaking to my parents and saying, "I'm going to be a paratrooper. I'm going to do this." And there was almost a bit of laughter there from the family. I was a typical teenage boy. You love playing football, computer games, all of that sort of thing. And I seen a bit of not doubt, but a bit of ridicule. Son, a paratrooper, and that got my I don't know made me I don't know made me stand up a little bit. And I thought there's a bit of a seed of doubt there. So I had that almost the desire then to go, right, okay, I am going to be a paratrooper and I'm going to show you and I'm going to do it. And so I did that, and it was the same. So once I became a paratrooper, the family were really proud. They're like, wow, you did that. Um, but when I decided I was going to leave the military, the family were really proud. And I remember my dad saying to me, well, what are you going to do? So I'm going to become a bodyguard. But it was almost like, you're leaving this really good career you've got in the military. Um, who's a bodyguard? It's not a very well known profession back in the time. And I said, I don't know, but I'm going to make it work. But it was almost that doubt again that made me fuel the fire as such. And it was the same starting a business. It was almost, why don't you just get a job? I was like, no, I'm going to start this business. And I think it was always the anywhere where I've been doubted, because I believe, and it's why I'm passionate about working with business owners. I think too many business owners work so hard. They have a dream, they have a passion. They don't create a business to fail. They create it because they want to make it a success. And I feel when you do that, everyone has the tools to make their business a success. Maybe they take a wrong turn, they're not guided correctly. Maybe there's things that they're unfortunate, they're focusing in the wrong areas. But I really feel once you've got that dream, that you should be able to, you can achieve that as long as you're consistently taking them steps towards reaching that goal. And unfortunately, for a lot of business owners, when they start and they don't see that progress quickly, it's not that they fundamentally have a bad business idea. Maybe they just run out of runway to make that work because of the savings they've set aside or whatever it is. So I think something like having, getting a coach, someone who can, hold you accountable and keep you on track and focusing on the right things, you're giving yourself a lot better chance of success. So I guess it's the story behind my why is when I felt doubted, it's made me step up to the plate, step up to the mark. And as I've evolved in life, I've realized I can achieve things. I have achieved things. And I feel like now's my time to give back and inspire that same sort of motivation, drive, and desire in others achieving their goals.
Oh, thank you for sharing that, Sean. Yeah, we all gotta, because if someone has given it to you and someone has given it to me, like I think it should be everyone's desires to give it back to other people, because I found it makes people happy. It makes you happy. It's serving others is something that will essentially would be the happiest you'll ever be, is helping and seeing people grow.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, one of the things that really changed a lot for me, attending Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within event in the UK. So I heard a bit about Tony Robbins, but I didn't know a lot about him. But I went to this event in Birmingham. I remember just being in an arena with, I think, 12,000 people that were all on a path of bettering themselves, furthering themselves, and just the energy in the room. I've been surrounded by people who are so like-minded and um, on a pathway to somewhere better. It just felt amazing. It all had people giving back to others. I just thought it was, and it did. It changed a lot for me moving forward. It's helped me reshape my business, change goals that I had, and just realign everything in my life.
Wow. A story comes to my mind, and it's a very simple story. Um, I was uh, I'm born and raised in India, and I was in India. I was visiting a family,
Hmm.
and this family was from United States, and they were in India for I think a few months. I think it was a trip. I don't know what it was exactly was. Why were they there? Maybe just visiting India for something. And we were having this game nights slash like get together at their house, and then they shared this story about how one of the teachers um, and the daughter got knocked up points because um, she wanted to. They were giving some candy out, and the 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 daughter was like, "Can I have two for my family as well?" They're like, "Why?" And the teacher couldn't gasp at that. And the story behind the moral was that when you care about yourself, there's one person caring about you, but when you care about everyone else but you, and there was a family of 5 or a family of 6. So you have 5 people
Hmm.
caring for you rather than 1. And,
Hmm.
I think that's where we gotta come together because I think it's amazing what can accomplish when you care for other people.
Yeah, always remember as a child as well. Even as a kid, you absorb so much, from parents' conversations and things like that. And I remember my father being out of work. I remember it was a worry or a strain on the family at the time. And I always remember it was a school trip to, oh god, in Northumberland, like a camping trip, and it was a couple of £100 or something to send your child, and the whole class went. And I remember the form came home from school for the parents to sign to say yes, we'll. And I said to my parents, "Oh, I don't want to go." And they're like, "Really? No, go, go." And they were trying to make me go, and I didn't want to go, but I didn't want to say anything. It's because I knew I'd heard the conversations that they were struggling for money, and so it's these things that even as a 7, 8 year old kid, I felt like I was helping the family, supporting the family by not going on a trip. It's a small thing, but yeah, it makes you feel good when you help others. And I think I've always had that from being a child. But I think one of the things you said there as well about you can helping lots of others, but remember you have to look after yourself as well. And sometimes a lot of people forget that they can give so much and burn themselves out completely. And it is very important to look after yourself because if we can't look after ourselves, then you can't support them other people also, right?
Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a Vision Pro yourself.